it's time to sit back and relax with your favorite drink and listen. The 5 Rules of the Vatican Exorcist by Augustus Cordova. Part 1. My phone rang at around 3 a.m. I didn't need to check the screen. I already knew it was the Cardinal. Father Mitchell here, I answered, my voice cracked and groggy. We need you in Genoa tonight. That was all. No apology, no explanation, just a location and a ticking clock. Well, that was his way. I packed fast. 3 days' worth of clothes, my Bible, and a black folder slim as a blade. It held 5 rules, the 5 rules. Not many, but each one was bought with blood. Not ink, blood. Every rule had a body behind it. The Vatican's jet was waiting at a private strip just outside of Rome. The pilot gave a cursory nod as I stepped aboard. He didn't say a word. Smart man. 4 hours later, I was standing in front of a nondescript apartment building in a quiet Genoese neighborhood. Too quiet. A local priest waited near the door, his face pale as wax, fingers twitching at the beads of his rosary. "Father Mitchell," he muttered, "thank you for coming." "Talk." "The Romano family, their daughter Giulia, 10 years old, started talking to someone no one else could see, and then, incidents. Things are moving, marks on the walls. Well, the parents left it all off until yesterday." "What happened?" "Well, the mother walked in. Giulia was floating." I nodded once. "Anyone else been inside?" "The family doctor. He called it psychiatric, gave her meds." "She take them?" "No, the mother refused." "Good." I walked toward the stairs. "Right, stay here." Rule 1. First contact is yours alone. Bring no one. First encounter with a potentially possessed or afflicted individual must be conducted alone. No assistants, no watchers, no holy witnesses, just you. Not because it's safer for you, but because it's safer for them. Entities test the edges of presence and perception. They react violently, or manipulatively, to unfamiliar energies in the room. If someone else is there, it will know which one of you breaks first, and it will use that break like a lever. What waits inside feeds off eyes and fear. You give it both, it grows. The mother opened the door before I even knocked, like she'd been standing there waiting. Her eyes were raw, red-rimmed, hair tied back in a frantic ponytail. "Father Mitchell," she breathed. I gave a short nod. Where is she?" "Her bedroom. She hasn't left it since yesterday." The air was colder inside. Not freezing, just wrong. I opened the folder. Rule 2. You watch before you speak. 60 minutes, no less. When you arrive, do nothing but observe for the first full hour. Let them talk. Let them twitch. Let them try. You're there to listen to the lies it tells with its body, its silences, and its stolen voice. Don't announce yourself. Don't introduce your mission. Not yet. The moment you speak, the game begins. So wait. Time it. Learn the pattern. You're not a hunting person. You're a stalking, a predator that knows how to pretend to be one. "I need to see her," I said, "but I won't talk to her. Now, don't say my name. Don't tell her why I'm here." The mother led me down a narrow hallway. Well, the place was neat, lived in. Photos of smiling faces, old holidays. Julia was there in all of them, grinning, wholesome. We stopped at a closed door. Crayon letters on white paper. "Keep out." "Julia," the mother said softly, "there's someone here to see you." Nothing. She opened the door. The room looked like any little girl's room. Pink walls, shelves of toys, a desk stacked with schoolbooks. Julia sat cross-legged on the bed, eyes locked on a blank wall. Pajamas with smiling cartoon things I didn't recognize. She didn't move. Not a twitch. No shifting, no blinking, just stillness. Wrong stillness. "This is a friend," her mother whispered. Julia didn't react. "I'll give you two, No, I said sharply. "Stay." Rule 3. Never be alone in a closed room with the affected. If a door locks behind you, open it. If a window shuts, unseal it. Always have a line of light to air, to witness. Because if you're alone in a sealed space, you're not just in danger, you're already compromised. The possessed will speak in the voice of a child, a lover, a dead parent. It will crawl into your thoughts if given silence and shadows. A locked room is its sanctuary, not yours. Don't give it that ground. Well, the mother hesitated, confused, but she stayed. I dragged a chair from the desk and sat. Not close, just far enough. I didn't speak. I watched. That was the rule. 53 minutes passed. Nothing. Then, Julia spoke, still staring at the wall. "He says you're breaking the rules." The mother gasped. "Who says that, sweetie?" I raised a hand, sharp, silent, cutting the mother off before she could speak again. Rule 4 rang in my skull like a gunshot. When it speaks of the rules, shut up and listen. If the entity acknowledges the rules, your rules, do not question it, do not debate, do not correct. It should not know them. If it does, you've already lost ground. Arguing only draws you into its rhythm, its logic. Once you start speaking its language, the game is no longer yours. Acknowledgement of the rules is a tell. Note it, but keep your mouth shut. Julia's voice was a whisper soaked in shadow. "He says you weren't invited properly." I pulled the notepad from my coat pocket and scribbled a single line, handed it to the mother. She read it, her eyes flicking over the words, and then met mine with a small nod. She turned back to the girl, voice trembling but steady. "Julia, I invited this man into our home to help us." Julia's head moved, slow, unnatural, until her gaze hovered just between us, not on us, through us. "He, accepts." I checked my watch. Yes, 7 minutes left. Observation only. So I waited. When the final second ticked down, I finally spoke. "My name is Father Mitchell. I'm here because your parents are worried about you." Her eyes locked onto mine with a predator's focus. "They should be worried about themselves." Why is that?" "'Cause they broke the agreement." I nodded like it was gospel. Rule 5. Show no doubt, ever. Speak like a man with God's hand on his shoulder, even when you feel like a lamb among wolves. Entities smell doubt like blood in the water. is not just fear, it's an invitation. A single flicker of uncertainty, a moment of confusion, and it will find you. Your silence, your posture, your eyes, all must say, I already know. Bluff if you must, but never let it see that you're guessing. Doubt is a crack, and cracks let it in. What agreement? The one they made before I was born. The mother flinched, shaking her head like she could shake away the words. No, Julia, we never made any. Then came the smile. Not a child's smile. A predator's grin. Something old hiding behind new skin. You promised to give something back after 10 years. Time's up. I turned to the mother. Could you get us some water? She left without a word. I leaned closer, keeping a strict 3-foot distance. Rule 3 was not optional. Look, I know you're not Julia, I said, voice low, steel wrapped in silk. The girl tilted her head, all curiosity and teeth. Then who am I? That's what I'm here to find out. She laughed, the sound of something that remembered screaming. The others were more fun. They played games. What others? The ones before you. They all failed. Rule 4 screamed in my ears. I didn't flinch, didn't blink, just nodded. How long have you been with Julia? Since before she had a name. The mother came back, handed me the water. I didn't drink. Mrs. Romano, I said, standing, voice now for the living. I need to speak with you and your husband in private. In the living room, I sat across from both of them. The father had just come in, still in uniform, reeking of night shifts and stress. Has Julia ever had imaginary friends? No, the father answered. She's always been practical, grounded. Any interest in the occult, horror movies, Ouija boards? They both shook their heads. Mental illness in the family? No, the mother said, fierce and final. This isn't in her head. This thing, it's not her. Look, your daughter is still in there, I said. But something else came with her, and it's not leaving on its own. They didn't hesitate when I said I needed to stay, offered the sofa like it was sacred ground. That night, after the lights dimmed and the house went quiet, I sat in the dark with only my rules for company, all 5 committed to memory, but reread anyway. Ritual. Armor, I guess. Rule 1. Never bring others with you on first contact. What waits inside feeds on attention, on fear. Rule 2. Observe for 1 hour before speaking. Rule 3. Never remain alone with the affected in an enclosed space. Rule 4. When it mentions rules, do not question, do not argue. Rule 5. Act as though you understand everything it says. Doubt feeds it. Simple rules, hard earned, paid for in blood. Part 2. Then came the sound. A creak. A breath, not mine. Julia stood in the hallway watching. I rose, slow, deliberate, and stepped back toward the kitchen, out of the living room, out of the trap. She smiled, eyes glinting like wet stone. You're different from the others. What others? I asked, voice flat. They all wanted to drive me out, but you're just watching. I'm patient. It won't work. Your patience. I've waited longer than you've been alive. I said nothing. She stepped closer, and the air shifted. Do you want to know what happened to the others who tried to help me? I remembered Rule 5, stayed silent for a beat, and then nodded. They failed. She grinned, because they didn't follow the rules. A flicker of something passed across her face. Surprise maybe, but it died quickly. You know more than the others, she said. Hey, why this family? I asked. Julia's mouth curled into that same unnatural smile. Because they invited me. How? They made a wish, she whispered, voice like wind sliding over broken glass. 10 years ago, they couldn't have children, so they wished for a daughter, no matter the cost. And the cost was, you. She nodded, slow and deliberate. I keep my agreements. Now it's their turn. What do you want from them? Her features shifted at this. Older now. Something ancient lurking beneath the skin. A simple trade. I gave them 10 years with a child. Now I get 10 years with a body. I didn't flinch at this. That won't happen. Julia laughed, cold and sharp. It already is. Every day there's less of her and more of me. Soon there won't be anything left of Julia at all. Why tell me this? She stepped just close enough in. Because it's more fun when you fight it. The others did. I liked watching them fail. Go back to bed, Julia, I said, my voice steel. She locked eyes with me, a long, dead stare, then turned and walked away. Well, I didn't sleep that night. Sleep was a luxury I stopped trusting years ago. Instead, I prepared. From my bag, I drew the old wooden box. The tools inside hadn't failed me yet. Blessed salt, holy water, a silver crucifix worn, smooth with use, and a vial of anointing oil. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Identification, the most dangerous part of any encounter, because to name it, you have to draw it out, and these things never come quietly. At dawn, I made coffee in the Romano kitchen. Mrs. Romano joined me, her face pale and hollow. She hadn't slept either. How many others have tried to help Julia? I asked. She didn't answer right away, and then said, 3 priests. Each one stayed a day or two and then left. The last one wouldn't even talk about what happened. And after they left, she got worse, more distant, cold. I nodded. I'd seen this pattern before. Well, today will be difficult, I warned. I need to provoke it, to find out what we're really dealing with. Will it hurt her? No. Julia won't feel anything. But what you see might, disturb you. She gripped her coffee cup tighter. I just want my daughter back. I placed my hand over hers then. Well, that's why I'm here. The sun climbed in the sky, dragging daylight through the blinds like a reluctant hope. I hadn't slept, didn't need to. The entity would be weaker now. Daylight never kills these things, but it makes them blink. The parents were in the kitchen when I came back from a quick shower. Mr. Romano was called in sick. His wife stirred eggs that no one would eat. She's still asleep, she said. Good, I replied. We need to talk before she wakes up. They sat across from me like prisoners waiting on a sentence, hands locked together, knuckles white. Right, I need everything, I said, especially the birth. Anything unusual? They exchanged a look then. Something silent passed between them. We had trouble, Mrs. Romano began. 5 years, 3 miscarriages. Mr. Romano picked it up then. We tried everything. Fertility clinics, diets, doctors, even a spring in Greece. People said it had healing properties. Nothing worked. Then what? Mrs. Romano lowered her eyes. My sister, she knew someone, a woman. I didn't say a word, because I already knew where this was going. A healer, she called herself, living on the edge of the city in a rotting old house, wrapped in vines and silence. My sister said she helped a friend get pregnant after years of failure. Did you make any promises to her? I asked. Mrs. Romano looked puzzled. We paid her. It wasn't cheap. Nothing else, no vows, no spoken agreements? No, Mr. Romano answered, but something had shifted in his face. A memory resurfacing. Wait, she did say something odd just before we left. What did she say? Exactly, word for word. She said the child belongs to both worlds for 10 years, and then a choice must be made. We thought it was just a mystic babble. 3 months later, I was pregnant, Mrs. Romano added quietly. I nodded slowly. The pattern was becoming clearer. Her name? Maria, Mr. Romano said. But she disappeared years ago, after Julia was born. We went back to thank her. The house was abandoned. I wrote the name down. The Vatican archives would have something on this. They always did. Okay, tell me about the pregnancy. It was perfect, Mrs. Romano said, and I could see the grief bleeding behind her eyes. After all those miscarriages, no sickness, no pain. Even the birth. 4 hours, no complications. The nurses said Julia was the calmest baby they'd ever seen. Too calm? Mrs. Romano blinked. Yes, she hardly ever cried. The doctor thought it was strange. Right. Another box ticked. I'd seen this before, too many times. One more question. Did Julia ever speak of another place, another home? They exchanged that look again, the one that screamed guilt wrapped in confusion. When she was 3, Mr. Romano said slowly, she used to talk about her other house. We thought it was just a phrase, imaginary play. What did she say about it? That it was big, dark, full of friends, and sometimes she went there while she slept. I closed my notebook then. Right, that helps. What's happening to our daughter? Mrs. Romano asked, voice trembling. A crash then tore through the hallway before I could answer. We ran. Julia stood on her bed, arms stretched high, her bookshelf laid toppled over, books scattered like fallen soldiers. He's lying to you, she said to her parents. Her eyes never met mine at this point. He can't help me. No one can. I stepped forward slowly, keeping the parents close. Rule 3, never face it alone. Good morning, Julia, I said. Or should I call you by your real name? She looked at me, eyes colder than any child should own. You don't know my name. Not yet, but I will. And she leapt from her bed, smooth, predatory. They all thought that too. I turned to her parents. Look, I need you just outside. Door open. Do not leave. Mrs. Romano hesitated. But your rule. You'll be in the hallway. Close enough. I need to speak to it alone. They slipped out of the room then, and watched their shadows on the floor. Still visible, still safe. I turned back to the thing wearing Julia's skin. They're not your real parents, are they? She tilted her head. What makes you say that? Because you didn't choose them. Maria did. She found two broken people and dressed up damnation as a miracle. Ah, a flicker. She remembered. She made them an offer. 10 years of a child they could never truly keep. She made them an offer, didn't she? 10 years of a child they could never truly keep. Very good, Father, Julia said, her voice lower now, rougher. Something crawling beneath the words. But knowing the terms won't help you. What's the price? After 10 years, the girl returns to where she belongs, and I stay. Possession. She smiled, a mouth full of secrets. Oh, such an ugly word. I prefer exchange. And if I stop this exchange? You can't. They agreed, and all bargains must be honored. They didn't understand what they were agreeing to. Ignorance doesn't void a contract. This isn't a contract. It's a trap. Julia laughed, and it wasn't a child's laugh. It never had been. Call it what you want. 9 priests tried before you. 9 failed. I narrowed my eyes. Mrs. Romano only mentioned 3. She doesn't know about the others. They came before, while Julia still wore the mask of a girl. Maria sent them to, check on her investment. Her smile stretched at this point, cruel and knowing. None of them followed your precious rules, she said. I kept my voice steady. I had to confirm what I was dealing with here. Each kind had its own weakness. Are you a demon? I asked. Julia laughed. It was sharp and mocking. So human. You need your neat little boxes. Answer the question. No, she said, tilting her head. Not by your definition. Well, a spirit, a ghost. Closer, she said, her tone turning cold. But still wrong. I reached into my coat, pulled out a silver cross. Julia stared at it, unimpressed. That won't work on me. We'll see. I held it out. Nothing, no hiss, no recoil. That ruled out several types at least. I switched tactics and unscrewed the cap of a vial. And this... She smirked. Holy water. Splash me, it'll just make the bed wet. I capped it again. She wasn't a ghost, not a demon, not a spirit. No. Something older. You make deals, I said. Exchanges. You give people what they want for a price. Her eyes glittered like a knife in moonlight. Everyone wants what they can't have, and I provide solutions. And Maria is your agent? Maria Elena Sophia, she said, voice like cracked ice. She's had many names, many lifetimes. She finds the broken ones, the desperate, the damned. And you take children as payment. Children are vessels, she whispered, running her hands down the sides of her body. Pure, unshaped. This one was molded for me. 10 years of growing, a perfect fit. Now the final piece clicked into place. You're a changeling. Part 3. Julia's expression hardened. That's one of your words. Folklore gets it wrong. The swab doesn't happen at birth. It happens later, after the deal. The Romanos never agreed to that. They did. A child of both worlds for 10 years. Then a choice must be made. Those were the terms, that was the deal. But they didn't understand. Not my problem. God, I'd had enough. Changelings could be bound. Not killed, not easily, but they could be held. I reached into my jacket and drew out a small cloth bag. Her eyes narrowed at this. What's that? Something to help Julia. I opened it, revealing a fistful of small iron nails. She hissed and backed away. Iron didn't harm her. It trapped her. Put those away. You know I can't. Then I stepped forward. You'll hurt the girl. Julia will be fine. You're the one who should worry. I dropped the nails in a tight circle around her. They hit the wood like a death knell. She screamed. No, not Julia's scream. This was older, primal, and just plain wrong. Then the parents burst into the room. What are you doing? Mrs. Romano shouted. Helping, I said, holding my ground. Don't break the circle. Julia collapsed, clutching her stomach, tears streaming down her face. Mom, Dad, he's hurting me. And Mr. Romano started forward, but I blocked him. That's not Julia. It's trying to get out. Please, Julia sobbed, her voice breaking. He's gonna kill me. Mrs. Romano shoved past me before I could stop her. Oh, my baby. Oh, wait, I shouted. Too late. She crossed the circle, kicked several nails out of place, and just like that, the sobbing stopped. Julia's face twisted into something cruel. Her grin cut like wire. She seized her mother's wrist. Thank you, she said, and the voice was deep again, adult, cold. Mrs. Romano tried to pull away, but couldn't. Julia, you're hurting me. Julia's not here right now, said the thing inside her, but I can leave a message. I moved fast, crossed the threshold. Rule 3 shattered, never be alone with the entity. But I was already in the fire, and there was no turning back. I grabbed Julia from behind, yanking her away from her mother with all the force I could muster. Iron and salt, I barked at Mr. Romano. Get the salt from my bag. Julia writhed in my grip. Her strength was just wrong. It was twisted and unnatural. Her fingernails ripped into my arms, carving bloody trenches into my flesh. Mr. Romano came running, container in hand. What do I do? A circle around us. Now. As he poured, I held her, barely. Her body jerked and bucked, all pretense gone. She wasn't pretending to be a child anymore. You broke your own rules, priest, she hissed in my ear, her breath like ice. Now you'll bleed. My skin burned where her hands clung to me, a fire that came from somewhere older than hell. I nearly let go, but I didn't. The circle, I shouted. He completed it, a thin white line snapping shut with a finality I felt in my bones. And Julia went limp. Just like that. I lowered her to the floor, careful to keep her inside the ring. She lay still, her eyes shut, shallow breath rasping in and out. Mrs. Romano hovered in the doorway, her voice cracking. What did you do to her? Trapped it, they said, panting. The changeling can't reach inside the iron and salt. Not right now. Changeling, Mr. Romano repeated. Ancient thing. Makes deals, steals lives. It's been nesting in your daughter for 10 years. Tomorrow's her birthday. Mrs. Romano's voice dropped to a whisper. Tomorrow? Yeah, that's why it's moving now, I said. The agreement's almost up. At midnight it takes full control. Unless we stop it. Mr. Romano's jaw clenched. What do we do? A ritual. A severance. It won't be easy to watch. Will it hurt Julia? Mrs. Romano asked. She won't feel a thing, but the thing inside her will. Oh, it will scream, lie, beg, fight. It will wear her skin like armor and use her voice like a knife. How long will it take? Check my watch. The ritual starts at midnight. Until then, we hold the line. But what if she wakes up? Mr. Romano asked. She won't get far. That barrier binds her, but it won't last forever. I looked down at her, at it. Julia looked like a child asleep after a long day, but I knew better. That thing was in there, coiled like a viper, waiting. I need to prepare, I told them. One of you stays with her here at all times. If she moves, speaks, cries, do not break the circle, no matter what. They nodded, too stunned to argue. I stepped into the other room and reached into my bag. The book wasn't the Bible. The church kept this particular one locked away, buried behind stone and silence. Pages older than some nations, bound in leather dark as dried blood. This was the book for when prayers weren't enough. I found the page, the ritual of severance, meant for parasites, the old kind, the kind that wore faces and smiled. It needed 4 things: iron salt, silver, and blood, freely given. When I had the first 3, the last would have to come from them. When I returned, Mr. Romano was sitting by the circle, eyes locked on his daughter's motionless form. Has she moved? He shook his head. Is she still in there? Our real Julia? Yes, I said, but not for long. That's why we fight tonight. Mrs. Romano came in carrying a tray of coffee, her hands trembling. You look like you need this. I took a cup, grateful. The warmth burned my hands, but I welcomed the pain. It meant I was still alive. Right, we have work to do, I said. They looked at me, frightened, pale, but ready. Tell us, Mr. Romano said. What do you need? I told them everything. How we'd have to reinforce the circle, how their blood would seal the ritual. Not taken, but given voluntarily. Oh, and the clock was ticking. Midnight was coming and hell was knocking. Will this kill the changeling? Mrs. Romano asked. No, I said. Things like this don't die here. But I can send it back to wherever it clawed its way out from. The hours dragged. Julia lay still, unmoving, a loaded weapon with a sleeping trigger. I spent the time reinforcing the apartment. Protective glyphs over every window and every door. Symbols meant to ward off nightmares made flesh. The sun bled out over the skyline. Just before night swallowed the city whole, Julia stirred. Her eyes opened, and they weren't hers anymore. There was nothing childlike left in them. They were cold, calculated, and ancient. Nice trick with the salt, she said, voice low but controlled. She sat up inside the circle, legs crossed like a meditating predator. But it won't hold. I stepped close to the edge of the circle, the line between the world and whatever stared back at me from Julia's face. It only needs to hold till midnight. She chuckled, dry and hollow. You really believe your little ritual's gonna work? Stronger priests than you have tried. Maybe they didn't have the right tools, I said. And you do? She sneered. You don't even know what I am. You're a changeling, one of the ancient deal-makers. Close, she smiled. Didn't belong on a child's face, that smile. But not close enough. I narrowed my eyes. Well, then what? She leaned forward, eyes glinting with something cruel. I'm what comes before the bargain. I'm what waits in the hollow between longing and regret. Not a changeling. I just wore one skin. Damn, the chill in my blood went deeper. Oh, you're a wish-eater. Her grin split wider. Very good, Father. Now you're getting warm. Oh, God, wish-eaters. The kind of monster they buried in sealed vaults beneath the Vatican. They didn't just make deals, they feasted on them. Ancient parasites feeding on desire, taking root in those who ask for too much. No exorcism would touch something like this. No, I needed something older, something darker. I'd have to break the rules. The last of the light vanished from the sky. Shadows filled every crack. The hours slipped through my fingers like blood. She watched me from the circle, calm, patient. Yeah, she knew she had time. You're thinking about it, she said. I can see it. The others did too, but they were cowards. The rules protect you, but they also cage you. Why are you telling me this? Julia's shoulders lifted in a shrug that didn't belong to her. Because I'm bored. It's more fun this way. I've played this game longer than you've been alive. Oh, most of you bore me, but you're interesting. Mr. Romano entered, holding a glass of water. He placed it by the edge of the salt line. In case she's thirsty. She doesn't need water, I said quietly. That's not your daughter in there. Oh, he looked down at her. She looked up, eyes wide and shimmering with tears. Daddy, I'm scared, she whimpered. Please don't let him hurt me. Well, Mr. Romano faltered. His hand twitched and his knees buckled. Julia. I grabbed his arm. It's not her. It's lying. That's what it does. The thing twisted Julia's voice then, coating it in honey. He's hurting me, Daddy. He's gonna send me away forever. Don't listen, I barked. But Mr. Romano pulled from my grip. What if you're wrong? What if you're hurting my little girl? And there it was. The seed of doubt. God, it always came to this. It turned the family first, made them question, made them choose. Oh, Pietro. Mrs. Romano's voice rang from the doorway. Remember what she was like yesterday? That wasn't Julia. The thing inside Julia dropped the act then. Her smile vanished and her eyes sharpened to razors. You should listen to your husband, Marianne, it said coldly. He's the one trying to save your daughter. I turned to Mr. Romano. We need to talk. Now. Out in the hallway, I told him everything. No more games, no more softened edges. We needed to know the truth, every brutal inch of it. The entity is a wish-eater. It feeds on desperation like a leech on blood. It gave you what you begged for, a child. But the cost was Julia. So Julia was never real? Pietro's voice cracked, barely holding it together. She's real, I said, but not untouched. The wish-eater didn't just give you a child, it embedded part of itself in her. A seed, and it's been festering inside her for a decade. Tomorrow, on her birthday, it takes full control. His face crumpled. And your ritual, can it save her? I didn't answer right away, and the silence said enough. The ritual I prepared won't touch a wish-eater. I need something stronger. What's stronger than that? I pulled out my black folder, thick, worn at the edges, smelling faintly of ash and holy oil. These rules were written to keep us alive, but sometimes surviving means breaking them. Which rules? I pointed to Rule 3. Never remain alone with the possessed in an enclosed space. Look, I need to be alone with it. No eyes, no hearts it can twist, just me and the monster. That's suicide, Mariana said, stepping into the hallway, her voice tight with fear. It's the only way. Otherwise it'll play you like a fiddle, and I'll lose. What about the others? Pietro asked. Rule 5, I said, tapping the page. Always act like you understand what it's saying. It's doubt that feeds it. But I won't pretend. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to confuse it, make it doubt itself. They shared a look. Not hope, just the dull recognition that this was their last hand to play. And you've done this before? Mariana asked. No, I said, but 9 priests have failed doing it by the book. That all ends tonight. Pietro nodded slowly. What do you need from us? Leave. 11:30 sharp. Go to the church down the street and pray. Don't come back until after midnight, no matter what you hear. Anna flinched. What if you're wrong? Then you'll hear nothing at all. They agreed, hesitantly, fear clinging to them like smoke. Part 4. 11:15 p.m. I gather the tools, salt, iron nails, a silver crucifix, and a blade, small, sharp, personal. Blood would be needed. 11:25 p.m. I built the fire high. Now, heat won't kill a wish-eater, but it makes it nervous. At 11:30 p.m. they left. Pietro looked back once. Julia, no, the thing, waved her tiny hand, grinning like a jackal in a doll's dress. I wrapped Julia, still within the salt circle, in a blanket, careful not to break the line, hauled her into the living room and set her near the fire. Just you and me now, priest, it said, breaking your precious little rules. I widened the salt ring, doubled the iron nails. Oh, won't hold me past midnight, it said. It doesn't have to. I pulled a chair to the edge of the circle and sat, alone, enclosed. Rule 3, well and truly shattered. What now? It sneered. Going to bore me to death with sermons? It laughed then, sharp and ugly. The Vatican must be scraping the bottom of the barrel. I didn't speak, just opened my notebook to a blank page and started writing. What's that? It asked. The mocking edge in its voice had dulled. New rules. New? It laughed again, louder this time, but it was forced. You can't change the rules in the middle of the game. Why not? I asked, not looking up. You do. Silence. For the first time, it hesitated. You're not playing by the rules of a wish-eater. No, I said, still writing, because you're not playing fair either. Real wish-eaters don't possess. They manipulate from the shadows. Its smile twitched then and slipped. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I do, I said. And more importantly, so do you. I looked up from my writing, my voice steady and cold. You claimed you were a changeling, then a wish-eater, but you're neither, are you? I am what I say I am, he growled. Oh, I shook my head, eyes locked on its borrowed face. No, you're not. You're something else, something that wears masks and feeds on the blind. The fire threw sharp shadows across Julia's face as the thing inside her scowled. Does it matter what I am? It spat. I'll still take the girl at midnight. Names have power, I said, pen still scratching across the page. A true name gives you leverage, control. You don't know my name, it hissed. I'm working on it. The ink bled black under my hand. Let's see. You make deals. You target desperate parents. You use agents like Maria. You favor young girls as vessels. Its grin twitched and cracked. It hadn't expected this. Stop that, it barked. I didn't. 10-year bargains, a deadline, a price. I said stop. The thing tried to rise, but the salt held it fast. Yeah, you're bound by agreement, I said, tone sharper now. That makes you one of the Covenant breed. Yeah, that narrows it down. The clock on the wall ticked, loud as a heartbeat. It was 11:45, 15 minutes to midnight. I set the pen down, my eyes finding Julia's, finding it. Yeah, you're a Pactus Vorax. Oh, the name struck like a blade, and the thing recoiled. How did you... Vatican archives, I cut in. 2,000 years of blood-soaked records. The Pactus Vorax doesn't take souls. It devours promises, poses as changelings, wish-eaters, demons of the crossroads. But it's always you underneath, isn't it? His voice dropped now, low and guttural. Knowing my name means nothing. No, I agreed, but it tells me where to hurt you. I stood, circling the salt line like a predator now. Pactus Vorax can't break a direct promise. It can't cross salt mixed with the blood of the bound. It must show its true face when confronted with its own terms. You're bluffing, it snarled, but I heard it, the break in its breath. Fear. 11:50 now. 10 minutes left. I drew the blade from my pocket, dragging it across my palm, and the blood dripped into the salt. This isn't the ceiling blood. That has to come from the Romanos. Then you failed, it snapped, voice regaining venom now. They're not here. No, I said, but I have something better. I reached into my satchel and pulled out a folded document. While you were trapped, they signed this. I unfolded the paper. Formal, legal, and final. A revocation, nullifying any pact made with Maria or any entity she represented. It won't work, the thing said, but doubt had clawed at its words. You mentioned the clause yourself, I said, stepping closer. A child born of two worlds, 10 years, and then a choice. You assumed you got to choose, but nowhere does the agreement say who makes that choice. The entity's eyes widened, flickering like black coals in Julia's skull. No. They chose, I said. They chose to keep their daughter. That's not how this works, it roared, Julia's voice warping into something ancient and rotted. Then show me where it says otherwise. 11:55, 5 minutes left. It started to tremble, searching the invisible lines of the pact for a crack, a loophole, anything. They wished for her. They loved her. 10 years they paid in blood, fear, and sleepless nights. That was the cost. This is a trick, it screeched. The Vatican has no power over this. No, I agreed, but I'm not acting for the Vatican tonight. Then I stepped inside the line. I'm their representative, and they've made their choice. 11:59. 1 minute. The thing inside Julia began to thrash, rage, and panic, twisting her limbs like wire. "You can't do this. She's mine." "No," I said. "She belongs to her parents. Oh, and to herself." The grandfather clock began to chime. Midnight. The entity screamed, an inhuman howl that splintered the air. Julia's body arched, her fingers clawing at the air. "By the terms of the agreement," I said, my voice rising to meet the storm, "I bind you to your word. 10 years are up. The choice has been made. You have no claim." It shrieked, and Julia rose off the ground, suspended like a puppet on a frayed string. "No, you tricked me." I outsmarted you," I said, "just like you've outsmarted desperate souls for centuries." The 12th chime echoed through the apartment, and then there was silence. The fire crackled low, casting warped shadows on the walls, and then Julia spoke. It wasn't her voice. No, it came from somewhere deep and distant, like the last breath of a buried god. "This isn't over, priest," the thing said through her mouth. "There'll be others after me. The desperate always make deals they don't understand." "There'll always be people like me to stop you," I growled. Her body seized, a violent spasm that twisted her limbs like broken twigs, and then she dropped to the floor, lifeless as a puppet with its strings cut. The salt scattered, the circle undone. I moved fast, dropping to one knee, checking her pulse. It was faint, but there. Shallow breath, but steady. Right on cue, the door slammed open and the Romanos stormed in, breathless and wide-eyed. "Julia!" her mother cried, falling to her knees beside the girl. Julia's eyelids fluttered, and her eyes, when they opened, were just a child's again. Human and free. "Mom, Dad, what happened?" They pulled her into their arms, sobbing like the world had been returned to them. I stepped back, silent, watching. Yeah, let them have this moment. The rules were meant to keep us safe. I'd broken most of them tonight. That's why we'd won. Not with holy water or Latin chants, with the entity's own chains twisted back around its throat. An hour later, Julia was asleep, truly asleep, for the first time in weeks. I sat in the kitchen, the Romanos across from me, eyes hollow but hopeful. "Is it really gone?" the mother asked. "Yes," I said. "The Pactis Vorax can't come back unless someone invites it in." "And Julia?" "She's herself again. Whatever pieces of it were left in her, they're gone." Mr. Romano leaned in. "You broke the rules. Will the church punish you?" I gave him a tired smile. "Look, the rules have their place, but sometimes you don't win by following them. You win by rewriting them mid-game." Mrs. Romano reached across the table and gripped my hand. "Thank you. For our daughter." I just nodded. There was nothing left for me to say in words. The next morning I was packing up when Julia found me by the door. She looked like any other kid now. The ancient thing behind her eyes was gone. "You're the one who helped me," she said. Not a question. "Yes." "I don't remember much. Just you fighting it." I knelt down to meet her gaze. "Hey, you fought it too. You'll hold on long enough for us to find you." She nodded, solemnly. "Are there more of them? Things like that?" "There are," I said, "but they can't hurt you unless they're invited in. There are people like me who stop them." "Good," she said, then gave me a quick hug before running back inside. Outside, under the grey morning sky, I called the cardinal. He listened without interruption, then said, You broke the rules. I did. They exist for a reason. To guide us, I said. But sometimes they become cages. There was a long pause. Write new ones. What? Write new rules based on what you learned, so the next one doesn't walk in blind. I thought of the Pactus Vorax, of how it had used our dogma like a shield, betting we'd never step outside the lines. I'll write them tonight, I said. As I climbed into the waiting car, I opened my black folder and stared at the 5 sacred rules I'd shattered to save that girl. And beneath them, I wrote a 6th. Sometimes to kill the monster, you have to break the cage meant to keep it out. You know what, sometimes I get stories sent to me by email, and it's always a bit of a thrill, to be honest, because that tends to be where a lot of my best ever stories come from. So thank you there to Augustus Cordoba. That was a thrilling, amazing, wonderful story, and I hope it all did exactly what you wanted it to do. So yeah, that was a great one, and I really was glad to read it. To all of you, thoughts, feelings, anything else you want to say in the comment section below the video, because that is a subject I've touched on before, not quite as satisfactorily as was the case tonight. So yeah, really enjoyed that one. Hope you did too. Well, that's it, and as you know, I'm going through a little bit of a personal crisis now, so the endings of the videos over the next week or so will be a little bit different. I've recorded quite a lot in advance, so yeah. However happy I might sound, probably isn't how I am actually. And I love you for all the support you've been giving me over the last couple of days, well, last few weeks, to be honest. So thank you again. Anyway, waffling on here. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here and, dealing with all this stuff I talk about at the end of the videos. Much appreciated, all of your support. Till the next time, which will be very soon. Love you all. Thank you so much. And you all sleep well, yeah?